In 1979, when I was 19, I stepped on board the tall ship Westward here in Woods Hole for a 6 weeks hands-on introduction to oceanography and offshore sailing in the North Atlantic. I was super excited. I had grown up in a small coastal town of Massachusetts, messing around in small boats and falling in love with the ocean. I was also a sciencey kid, so this idea of science under sail sounded like just an impossibly best dream adventure. And there we go. But the first 3 days did not go well at all. I found myself flat on my back in my bunk with debilitating seasickness. I thought I was going to die. Then I was afraid I wasn't going to die. It was that bad. Meanwhile, my classmates from the Midwest, who'd never seen the ocean and never been on any boat of any kind, were scampering around on the deck as happy as clams while I was down below. It was not a good day for the Massachusetts coastal kid. But after a few days, I started to feel better, and I was able to join my classmates on deck and start to learn the ropes. And it was none too soon, because the first night I was back on deck, there was a big storm brewing, and it was all hands on deck to haul down Westward's massive sails. I distinctly remember clinging to the bowsprit, balancing on these ratlins, these ropes hanging under the bowsprit, with the bow plunging into the growing swells and cold North Atlantic seawater filling my boots on every plunge. So the sound of the waves, the wind, the flapping sail was so loud we could hardly hear the captain's orders. It was complete chaos, and I was in heaven. The physics I'd been studying in college was suddenly not theoretical anymore. I was actually feeling and experiencing the important physical forces that helped to shape our planet. It was at that moment that I decided I wanted to be a physical oceanographer. I wanted to go to sea on ships, make observations of ocean currents, and discover new things about how and why the oceans move. I was ready. Later on that same trip, I was assigned at night to bow watch, which meant I needed to spend several hours standing alone at the bow, watching for any lights of ships that might be getting too close. If I saw anything, I was supposed to walk back to the stern and alert the mate on duty. So being the good Girl Scout that I was standing on the bow of the ship, and I'm scanning around, looking at darkness everywhere. Dark ocean, dark sky, nothing going on around here. But I'm doing my thing. But suddenly, the mate steps up beside me, and he says, "Amy, don't you see that light over there?" I looked where he was pointing, and I didn't see the light. I saw darkness, only darkness. Then I squinted my eyes, I looked out of the corner of my eye a little bit, and I saw a dim, flickering light in the distance. Clearly, he had seen the light much sooner, and so should have I. This was the first sign that maybe something wasn't quite right with my vision. Several years later, when I was a graduate student, a routine eye exam revealed an unusual blind spot in my eyesight. Before I knew it, I was sitting in the office of a specialist at Mass Eye and Ear Infirmary in Boston, and he was telling me that I was going to slowly lose most, if not all, of my vision in the coming years due to a degenerative retinal disease that had no cure. I was stunned. I'd never heard of this disease. No one in my family had it, even though it has genetic roots. I didn't know a single blind person, and that means I didn't know a single blind oceanographer or any scientist in any field, for that matter, who was blind. Could I still be a physical oceanographer with low or no vision? I wasn't sure. But I had no plan B either. I just wanted to be a physical oceanographer who goes to sea and collects observations and has all these cool adventures. So the well-intended specialist suggested to me that, with sort of cheerfulness, that, oh, but I could switch gears in my studies to science administration instead of research. And with all due respect to those administrators out there, and I know there are some, that's not what I wanted to do then at that time in my life. I wanted to go to sea and make new discoveries about the ocean. So I set aside that specialist advice, and I continued my journey to be a physical oceanographer. Over the years, I've been able to solve many of the challenges associated with losing my vision with the support of family and friends and colleagues. For example, I figured out there's actually non-visual ways to access the data that I collect. But the most stubborn obstacle all along has been my own self-doubt. And this, I have to say, is something I have not yet conquered. It's something I just live with, and in spite of it, I've had the honor and the privilege to lead numerous research expeditions to the North Atlantic and the Indian Ocean over the past 30 years. And whenever I go to sea, white cane in hand, and I feel the rolling deck under my feet and the wind in my face, and I hear the hissing sound of the waves as they pass the ship, I'm in heaven again. Thank you.